So I guess the big news in entertainment business is Quincy Jones died. And that hit me. I'm not a musician, obviously, but I had a TV deal with Quincy Jones. My first holding deal in the entertainment business was with Quincy Jones. I'll never forget this as long as I live. My deal was for $150,000. So they had my TV rights for a year. And I was like, what? I had never made anything close to that in my life. So how TV deals used to work, and they might still work this way, but if a studio or a production company or a network wanted you, they give you a certain amount of money, and then they hold your TV rights for the year. So you can't do any other TV work, do any other TV shows unless it's with them. So I get this deal with Quincy Jones, and so we're trying to pitch this TV show together. And how the Holden deal even came to play was so random. I was doing the Montreal Comedy Festival, and I was on the show called The New Faces. And the first night I bombed. I just ate it. You get 5 minutes. You can bomb if you're headlining an hour set, and you can have a bad 5 minutes within an hour, and the crowd could still leave happy. You could still rip, and you could still do great. When you only got 5, it's hard to get out of that hole if you don't get them right away. So I had worked on my set for a long time, but I was working on the set in LA and on the road, like these 5 minutes. And then when I got to Montreal, I was the first comic on the first show. You draw numbers. I literally drew 1. And I was like, so when I went up, it was like 6 p.m. on like a Wednesday in Montreal. The crowd was all white, and I'm not lying. There was a lady with blue hair in the audience. It was that old. And I just remember they had all the seats down here, and then there was a balcony wrapped around. And everybody saying, Quincy Jones is here. Quincy Jones is in the building. And I remember seeing Quincy in the balcony, and I freaking bombed, and everything in me said, don't do this set. This crowd is not going to get that set you've been working on. But my agent at the time was like, no, Gary. You have this point of view. At that time, stand up for those 5 minutes in Montreal was all about what's your point of view so you can get a sitcom out of it. That was it. So I was like, okay. Instead of going with my gut and my instinct that said, don't do that, scrap that shit, and play to these old white people in Montreal, I stuck to my guns with what my agent said, did the 5 minutes I was working on in LA, and it was ugly. I don't think I got I got nothing. It was almost like I was performing in the mirror in the bathroom, and I still would have got more laughs because I would have chuckled at my own jokes. And I remember Don Marrero hosted, and I just remember when he was hosting, he didn't get a lot of laughs. So, and at that time, Don Marrero was killing all over town. So I was like, damn, Don didn't get a lot of laughs. Then I go up and bomb. I walked back to my hotel. It was probably about 2 miles. I went out the back door, and I walked. And my ex-wife, who was just my girlfriend at the time, I remember my agent was like, yo, Gary, he told her, yo, bring Gary out. We got these networks that want to meet him. And she goes, oh, he ain't coming out. I know Gary. He's not coming out. I remember I walked back to my hotel room, and we just sat there. And I went up on Wednesday, and I wasn't going up again until Friday, because you usually get 2 shows on the New Faces. So I didn't go to any parties. I didn't show my face Thursday. I was hiding because I felt like if I went to any party or any function in Montreal, I felt like everybody would be like this. That's the guy. That's the guy that bombed. Right there. That one right there. That's how I felt. So I hide. 2 days later, New Faces again. This time, I'm 5th. So first goes the 5th. The 8th goes the 1st. It was like wherever you were, you're the opposite now. So I'm in the sweet spot for that show. I'm right in the middle. So and then I get there, and everyone said, yo, that crowd Wednesday sucked. So I guess all 8 comics ate it. But I didn't stick around to see that. All I know is I ate it. So now we're all sitting there. I'm like, what? You bombed too? You bombed? They're like, dude, they didn't laugh at anybody. It was the worst crowd. I don't even know why they brought them. I was like, oh. So now I didn't feel as bad. Quincy's at this show again. Same spot. I see him. I did a different 5 minutes. Now I'd been in Montreal for 2 days. I watched the news. So I had a little local stuff I could throw in to get them. And that crowd was better. So I did better on Friday. Then I was supposed to go home. I was leaving Saturday morning. They call me. Guy Torrey missed his flight or couldn't make it. So they said, can you stay for our urban night? And I was like, say less. Because that was my audience. So now I go up on the early show on the urban night. And then the late urban show was typically known as like the dirty, nasty show. So it was different comedians on the early show and the late show, but I did both. So the first show I did all my black church stuff. And the second show I just did like dick pussy jokes. But killed on those shows. Quincy was at those urban shows. We get back to LA. A week later, there's like, Quincy Jones wants to meet you. I go, who? They go, Quincy Jones. I go, the Quincy Jones? They're like, yeah. I was like, oh. So I go to his house. Immediately we're vibing. And I'm sure other people, like, that's how he was with a lot of people because he's so charming. But we were vibing. He was calling me Snow Cone, Snow Cone. So what he told me, he says, look, I saw all 4 of your sets in Montreal. He goes, I went to every show I could because he was trying to get some TV network deals together. And he said, you're the only person I saw that did 4 completely different sets every night. He goes, and I saw how you adjusted. He goes, it was like I remember he explained to me, he goes, it was like an arch. He goes, you started here, and then the next show you went here, and the third show you went here, and by that last show, nobody was really fucking with you. And I was like, And, as a comic, all you think about is the bomb. You don't think about the good set. You're still in your brain overanalyzing, overthinking the bomb. So I'm thinking, I'm not going to get no deals out of this. And then as soon as I went over his house, he's like, all right, we're going to get the deal together. So I just remember when my agent called, my manager at the time, and he was like, yo, he's over $150,000. And I went, okay, we're not negotiating shit. We're going to say yes. He goes, all right, he's like, I'll go back. I won't lose the deal, but we'll try to do some other stuff like what would I get per episode of the show and things like that. So I just remember I went to his house one day and he literally, we're talking about the show and everything. Yeah, I'm going to do the deal with you. And he I don't think he snapped his fingers, but the story's better if he went like this. And this man appears and he looked at me and goes, what was it again? And I was like, oh, $150,000. He goes, oh yeah, write the check for $150,000. The guy writes the check. And I just remember I looked at it and I had never seen a check that big. I'd never seen that much money in my life. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. And then I just remember we leave his house. We're still in his driveway. And my manager goes, just so you know, this ain't normal. And he was like, I've been a manager for 10 years at that time, the manager I had. And he was like, I've never seen a holding deal where they just wrote you the check all up front. Come to find out, after that holding deal, I got numerous more after that. Most holding deals, I never got that much upfront money again on a holding deal. But the rest of my holding deals, you would get the money when you sign the deal, and then you get the money like halfway through the deal. And then at the end, you get the money if the show goes, or if it doesn't go, then you get the last payment after a year. But most holding deals after that, you get paid over the course of the year that they're holding you. You don't get just one check. So that's why he was like, I've never seen that. And it's a lot of back and forth. There was no back and forth. Yeah, he offered you $150,000. I'm sorry, what? And then here's the funny part. What I bought with that $150,000 was a big screen TV. Because I thought at that time there was no flat screen. I thought if you had a big screen TV, when I was growing up in the trailer park, you was rich. Nobody would mess with you. Two things that I thought was a sign of wealth when you grow up in a trailer park. Three things. Waterbed, king-size waterbed, big screen TV, and the big satellite dish in the yard. Not DirecTV. They used to have these things that look like NASA satellites in the yard. And if you had the dish, waterbed, and a big screen TV, oh, I don't know what your dad does, but you're the most successful person on earth. That's how I looked at you. So I went and got the biggest TV I could find. It was so big. It was so thick, too. It was like this thick. It couldn't get through some doorways. It was so wide. But then I filmed my first special, Breaking Out the Park, with the money from the Holden deal. So I think that special cost me about $50,000 at that time. Yeah, because I rented the venue. I rented a trailer because we had a trailer on the stage. Paid for the camera, paid for everything. So yeah, I just remember, it cost me $50,000 ballpark, and then I made maybe $30,000 back that night off the door, something like that. My tickets weren't expensive because we wanted to pack it. So I think the tickets were literally the cheapest ticket was like $17 because there was 3 balconies. So I said, I wanted to guarantee I'd pack it out, so we had to make the tickets very cheap. But we sold a ton of tickets, but they were cheap. It was between $28 and $17 with my tickets at that time. And but I made my first special off the Holden deal money. So I didn't just waste it. I did, I think, use it wisely. Maybe the big screen TV wasn't the most sound thing I bought, but just what I remember about Quincy is some of the stories he would tell me, and some I don't want to share with the public, but a couple was he told me how he got Fresh Prince on the air. He was like, yo, nobody was messing with Will. He was when I went to networks and I was like, he's a rapper. All they heard was rapper, and they thought NWA gangsta. And he was like, no, it's Will Smith. This is how out of touch some networks are. And to this day, I still think there's a lot of network and network execs that are just completely out of touch. They thought Will Smith was a gangster rapper. And they were like, oh, rapper? I don't know. So what Quincy had to do was he had to get all these sponsors to say they would advertise on the show if it went, like Kraft, McDonald's, Procter & Gamble, things like that. And he rallied the troops and brought all these advertisers in to NBC and was like, they all said they advertise on the show. Can we try to shoot a pilot and get it made? And that's how it was. And he met Will at a party. And then, so he told me that, and that's the Cliff Notes version, but he told me that thing. He told me a story about Frank Sinatra okay, if you say entertainment right now, the most powerful people I would say is Jay-Z's pretty powerful. 50 Cent's getting up there. I'm trying on the white side. Taylor Swift. Let me think. Actor-wise, De Niro kind of does what he wants. Brad Pitt kind of does what he wants. Tom Hanks, things like that. Tyler Perry. But I don't think anybody will ever have the pull like Frank Sinatra did. And I remember one story Quincy told me was he was shooting something in Hawaii, and he wanted a Navy ship to be in the background for this scene. and he called the chief of naval operations, said, hey, yeah, I'm shooting this movie or TV show or musical benefit or something. He goes, hey, do you think tomorrow we can have like one of your Navy ships just go back and forth in the background while we're shooting this? Yeah, no problem. A freaking military ship on a day's notice back and forth because Frank Sinatra made a call to the chief of naval operations. I just don't know who has that kind of pull right now that could call basically the chief of naval operations. You just don't get that dude on the phone, and there's no way he can just be like, yeah, it's not a rowboat. There's actual sailors on the ship that have to actually work that day to make that ship go back and forth, and you never know when we're going to get attacked. I mean, we're in Hawaii. We're one of the most unexpected attacks ever happened, Pearl Harbor. Yeah, we'll get a ship, go back and forth. There's power, and then there's power like that I don't know. Any entertainer could just make that phone call and make it happen.